So when I started this show, the whole point is that I wanted to sort of take current events and for people that don't care about it that much, that you could get some information. So I'm going to give you kindergarten 101 Ukraine. I'm catching up on it all myself at the moment. So basically, we know we had the riots and protests in the Ukraine about 2 weeks ago. The president of the Ukraine wanted to align more with Russia for economic reasons. It seems the people wanted to go more towards the EU. Then Russia invaded, although we didn't call it an invasion for a few days. They've now taken control of the Crimean Peninsula. Putin saying that we're not, or Putin, I guess that's like the Bronx thing, saying that, you know, we're not really invading. So there's a lot of questions here. I know it's a big thing, so I want to give sort of a general overview of the whole thing. But let's start. This is President Obama speaking about Ukraine yesterday.
I think that we've all seen that from the perspective of the European Union, the United States, allies like Canada and Japan, and allies and friends and partners around the world, there is a strong belief that Russia's action is violating international law. I know President Putin seems to have a different set of lawyers making a different set of interpretations, but I don't think that's fooling anybody. I think everybody recognizes that although Russia has legitimate interests in what happens in a neighboring state, that does not give it the right to use force as a means of exerting influence inside of that state.
Okay, so I think that's an interesting place to start because Obama's talking about Putin's lawyers as if Putin was sitting around with a bunch of guys going, guys, you know, Crane, Poole, and Schmidt, what are we doing here? Can we do this? Is this legal? So I want to start with that element of it. I feel like we're on two different planets right here. Like Putin's going, I'm invading. I have guys that maybe are dressed like Russian soldiers, maybe not, but I'm going to do this thing. Right. And we're debating as if this is something that's going on in a courtroom with lawyers. Is that the fundamental problem, that we're not even on the same playing field here?
Well, I mean, I think that, war is such an emotional, I think personally that it's such an emotional kind of move. And you look at the wars through history and they're not, there's no rule, all's fair in love and war, you know. But what I read this morning was that Merkel basically said that Putin's like out of his mind.
Like she legitimately believes he's crazy.
He's crazy. And when you have somebody like that, like, what are you going to do? Like Hitler. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the things that's come up is that when we would go to the UN looking for, to go to Syria or go to, for intervention or for whatever, that Russia would love to use it, always would use its veto power to say, like, nope, we're not going to do, like, nope.
Right.
And so the question is, like, why aren't they going to the UN then if this is just an intervention?
So you're saying they're not standing up to their ideals that they would hold us to? I can't believe it.
But they would hold us to. Like, we've given the best example. When you want to invade a country, you go and you lie to the UN and tell them that there are weapons there. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. You tell them there are weapons there.
Yeah.
I'm so upset.
Yes.
But no, it's like an invasion by any other name. Would it be as awful? Like, yeah, it's.
Yeah. Anything can be rationalized if you want to go in.
Right. So, but then isn't that the fundamental problem? If we have potentially this crazy guy that's actually using military force, is part of this that we just know that Obama's not into the military. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I don't want to be all over the place. It's good that we're pulling back from parts of the world, but that Putin can do whatever he wants because he knows Obama's not going to be like, we've already had the red line thing once with Syria, so he can pretty much do whatever he wants, right?
Yeah. All I can say is I hope not. I hope not. Because, you look at these crazies all over. You can look at, Korea and they're all over the place and they have to be stopped. Once they're completely irrational.
But don't you think they feel like they can do whatever they want for right or wrong? Whether they should do whatever they want or how much influence the United States is a separate issue. But don't they feel like they can?
Putin's a man that hunts tigers and flies with birds. He clearly thinks he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's been under immense pressure for the past 7 months about the LGBT laws in his country.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
As he was on the world stage for the Olympics. And they didn't so much as blink. There's no, the IOC didn't say anything, didn't even repudiate it really. there was
Yeah,
no,
that was pretty disgusting.
yeah, there was no real pushback on that issue, and that really is an issue that would have been very easy for everybody to come out and be like, no, we don't want to go to the Olympics then,
Right.
or oh no, we don't want to, you know. In this case, like, this is actually like war. This is, I don't think that we have the stomach for it right now.
Yeah.
I think we're going to hope that it doesn't come to us going there.
Yeah. We're going to talk about some of the LGBT stuff later, but doesn't it now, in retrospect, with the Olympics only being 2 or 3 weeks over, doesn't it actually seem nuts that the Olympics were there?
Yes.
Especially if you listen to all the commentators, they're all like, "Oh, we knew this was happening."
I actually didn't watch it, and
You
not
didn't
as.
miss- you didn't miss much except.
But you know what?
Costas' eyes.
Costas what?
His eyes. That's
Oh,
it.
that's what I heard about it, but I'll have to look that up. But the
Yeah.
thing is that, and I know I wasn't making a difference. I mean, by not watching, but I couldn't do it. I mean, I was so
Oh,
sickened.
so you were
by-
actually like having a form of protest because
Yeah, I
of
mean,
what
I was
going on.
just like sickened by it, and I love the events. I mean, I really have always enjoyed watching it, but the whole element of it. I mean, I just loved watching, you know, Buddy Cole on, you know, Stephen Cole. I mean, Scott Thompson. I mean, that was wonderful, and I thought it was great that they did that. But it was horrible. It was
Yeah.
horrible, and I was so disappointed in our country for
So,
not.
In retrospect, should we not have even gone? I guess it's easy
I mean,
to say
it's
now.
easy to say now. I mean, I personally had an issue with us going before. Like, it's hard because the Olympians obviously work their whole lives and they
Right.
want, you know. But at the same time, sometimes it's worth taking a stand. And yes, Coca-Cola will be upset because they're sponsoring the event, and NBC will be upset because they paid so much money to broadcast it. And so, of course, there was no chance we were going to not
That's
go.
it. I mean,
but I think we should have.
But I'm curious. I mean, does anybody know? And I can understand that people who have been athletes and working towards this really wouldn't want to forego it. But have there been any athletes who said that they didn't want to go, who were, you know, about to go? And I mean, did anybody?
There might have been one from some.
Yeah.
I think there might have been somebody, but
pushing
yes.
for
it's
that.
like, yeah,
so
the fact that it
basically,
doesn't come to
I
mind.
guess one trumps the other
Yeah.
pretty quickly, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
too.
All right. So final thought on Ukraine, since we're probably going to be talking about this for months, if not years. What should the United States' role in the world be? Can I end with a bigger question than that? I mean, really, do we have any right? We go into countries when we want to. We've still got drones going in Pakistan and Afghanistan right now, and many other places. What right do we have? Do we have a right anymore
You know,
to tell anyone what to do?
It's such a huge question, and it really goes back so many steps, because everything starts with education. Everything starts with education, and education is a very long-term goal. And if people aren't educated, they act have visceral responses to everything, and they're idiots.
The George Bush policy, perhaps.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you don't start with that, and you don't you can't communicate with people, then you're going to have knee-jerk reactions, and there's going to be violence. So, I mean, ideally what would be good is a dialogue, an international dialogue, so that people can discuss this and act like adults, but they
Right.
don't act like adults.
And we may have one guy that we've all said might be crazy, which would have a little bit of
Right.
trouble to have talked,
Right.
But
talk to the guy.
Also, I think we're kind of seeing the ill effects of what happens when you go to wars that are unpopular worldwide and are seen as aggressive, and you lose that moral standing and that moral high ground where, you know, if we had never done that, you know, hindsight being 20/20, but if we had never done that, we have a little bit more moral authority to be like, no, this is where we go in, and maybe this is the one we choose to go to, as opposed to. But I feel like Iraq and Afghanistan have made us so gun shy
We've set
because
some ugly precedents,
and it's like,
yeah.
well, do we just want to do this every time, you know? And
But
it
we
makes
had
it
such
hard.
horrible leadership then.
For
and,
sure, but it
you
makes it
know,
hard to pick what's the right one when we have a bad history of the wrong ones recently.
So there you go. So yes, sometimes by going to the wrong war, you actually enable yourself to go to possibly what could be the right one. Not that I'm saying we should be going to war, but it does
But, you know,
limit
look-
your chances. Final thought.
Okay, but like look in Sterling Hayden's character in Dr. Strangelove. I mean, he was kind of like your Putin in this example.
Yeah.
He's nuts. He's absolutely nuts, and he needs to be taken out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're nuts, you need to be eliminated. Not the country, the person.
Targeted Assassinations by
Yeah.
Cathy Ladman, ladies and gentlemen.